We have more changes in this last 6 months than in decades in college baseball, and it keeps getting weirder. You guys know about the recent JUCO ruling that could upend how recruiting is done and how players go through the recruiting process, mostly going through JUCOs if it becomes a widespread rule. But now we have families challenging the House settlement on the roster size limits. So what we're looking at are people challenging the size of rosters being decreased across all sports, especially in baseball. So again, we could see some more changes. So we're going to get right into it, guys. First off, most of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. Something like 90% on YouTube are not subscribed to our channel. If you like college baseball, recruiting, development type videos, we do them daily. We do streams every day of the week. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on the video. It really helps us out. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's get right into it, guys. So from Mike Rooney at D1 Baseball, new objection to House settlement here centered on roster limits. In theory, NCAA could get ahead of this in baseball, make it 40 when school starts in the fall, then 34 if they insist on December 1st. But I'd prefer 40 for the year. 40 is our current limit, so that's not a real change. Here's where I'm not getting from Mike Rooney here. And again, we'll get into the actual, the actual lawsuit and stuff like that. But right now, I don't understand why he's suggesting to make this 40 the limit of 40 when you guys get to fall. Maybe to prevent people from bringing in more than 40. But as the rules stand right now, you can bring in as many as you want before December 1st. And then ultimately the roster has to be set. I'm 100% in agreement with Mike Rooney about the roster just staying at 40. I don't know why we need to go to 34. Again, I think that was a little bit short-sighted by the NCAA. And what you'll see here is that this lawsuit is being brought by families of players that were cut from scholarships and stuff like that. So let's get right into it from Steve Berkowitz. Further signal regarding these attorneys and their current and former athlete clients' unhappiness with settlement as it stands. Okay, so let's just read this part right here. Dedicated high school students who toiled to play in college have had promised roster spots rescinded, and because they had already committed to a school, they have been foreclosed from pursuing opportunities to play for another. So what is he saying here, guys? Players, especially in the 25 class, were totally screwed over by all these changes the NCAA made, especially the decrease in roster sizes. Remember, it's not just baseball. Baseball had one of the largest cuts in roster sizes, going from 40 to 34. So essentially, 15% of their roster size was cut. But, women's soccer, all these other sports had roster size cut as well. And because they had already committed to a school, they have been foreclosed from pursuing opportunities to play for another. So if you were a month away from signing your national letter of intent or your financial aid agreement as it's becoming, there weren't any other spots out there when you got cut because everybody else was cutting roster spots as well. So essentially, the NCAA's decision screwed over all these 25 athletes, and not only in baseball, but in all other sports as well. Thousands of student athletes who honored one set of rules are seeing their lives upended and dreams shattered because another set of rules is being arbitrarily forced on them. And 100%, how does this challenge? How does a judge look at this and be like, yeah, that's basically what happened, right? We've been talking about it for months. You guys know this. The NCAA did this knowing full well that almost every sport that was being affected was going to have to do roster cuts. And again, the vast majority of them were baseball players because, like I said, you saw from going from 40 to 34, that's a 15% decrease in roster size. So you immediately cut a minimum 6 guys. And a lot of schools did a lot more. Students and parents have pleaded with the court to reject the amended settlement's roster limits. So what this challenge in court is trying to do is keep everything else, from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, everything else is fine. They're not trying to get the whole thing thrown out. They just want the roster limits to be the roster limits section of this new legislation to be taken out because so many. And again, that's going to create another just entire cluster of things happening, because then all of a sudden schools, are they gonna bring back a bunch of guys that they had committed in 25? Probably not. Are they just going to recruit a bigger 26 class or a bigger class in the portal? Probably. So again, it's like too little too late, in my view, to come back and fix this, because a lot of schools have already moved on, right? I get it. I get what this court case, or what they're trying to do by challenging this part of the settlement. But to me, I don't think they're going to get the end result that they would like individually. I think it will be better for sports overall, especially baseball is obviously the one I'm concerned about. I just think 40 guys on your roster gives you way more flexibility to weather injuries as a team, weather all kinds of issues that could come up during the season. But again, I don't think these individual players and parents whose players were cut from roster or their scholarship, that same school is probably not going to come back and offer it, right? So we'll have to see how this ends up. Numerous other student athletes and parents have contacted Objectors Council to express their concerns about the roster limits, and Objectors Council have shared this with class council. See example A. The parties are well aware of the damage caused by roster limits, but they've chosen not to mitigate this awful situation. So again, NCAA is fully aware not only of what has occurred because of this settlement, but also they knew that before it happened. They knew that before it became official. Right. They knew that. And again, by official, I mean, they're going through the fine print of this legislation now. Everything else has been agreed upon. They're going through the fine print, like I've told you guys. But the NCAA knew that this was going to happen before all this came out. You had to know that baseball teams were going to have to cut massive numbers. Women's soccer was going to have to cut maybe not as many as baseball, but certainly a large amount of roster spots across all of NCAA. We're talking total athletes, guys. We're talking probably over 10,000 total athletes that have been cut from scholarships because of these changes. Okay. Lawyers, and this is how it originated, guys. Lawyers for 10 current or former female athletes who objected to preliminary approval of settlement of House in related cases, approval that eventually was granted by the federal judge, have made a new filing tonight concerning the settlement's roster limits. Specifically, this has to do with wording of a proposed Q&A document that would directed toward college athletes and made publicly available. But in bigger picture, this may signal a new line of objection to final approval of settlement. And again, I think this is what the Q&A they're thinking should be corrected. So it says, is a student athlete's roster spot guaranteed? Question number 4. If what they propose to change is, if a school has guaranteed me a roster spot, am I at risk of losing that spot because of the settlement? No, as has always been true. Answer: yes, under current rules, schools have complete discretion about how many student athletes to include on a particular team, and the schools may have as many student athletes on their teams as they choose. Under the settlement, that will no longer be the case. Schools that choose to opt into the settlement by providing additional benefits, including additional scholarships or payments for use of NIL, will be bound by a set roster sizes established by the NCAA. They may have to cut existing student athletes from teams. Right? So question number 4 must be corrected to provide class members with fair and accurate information about the amended settlement. So what they're implying is that this Q&A that was sent out to, as he says here, that was sent out to college athletes, that was made publicly available. So to get feedback from current college athletes, maybe some former college athletes, is not a fair and accurate information. It's not giving them fair and accurate information. Objectors propose modifying it as follows, with proposed additions in bold, underline, and deletions in strike through. So originally, the first question said, is a student athlete's roster spot guaranteed? And the original answer was no, as has always been true. Decisions related to those available roster spots are up to the school, regardless of whether a school provides additional benefits or NIL payments. So basically, this answer is making it seem like, well, no, it's not guaranteed, and that's always been the case. And even if the school doesn't opt into the settlement, right? But it really is kind of misleading. a better way to ask it, if a school has guaranteed me a roster spot, am I at risk of losing that spot because of the settlement? Yes, under current rules, schools have complete discretion about how many student athletes to include in a particular team. And schools may have as many student athletes on their teams as they choose. Under the settlement, that will no longer be the case. Schools that choose to opt into the settlement by providing additional benefits will include additional scholarships or payments for use of NIL, will be bound by set roster sizes established by the NCAA. They may have to cut existing student athletes from teams. This proposed modification accurately reflects the effect of the amended settlement. It will aid potential class members in making informed decisions regarding the pending settlement if approved. Right. So anyone who's involved in this settlement, meaning, unfortunately, I didn't play recent enough to get a share of some of this big, billions and billions of dollars of settlement for former athletes that weren't able to take advantage of the name, image, likeness stuff. I think it goes back to maybe 2017. So basically, if you're a member of this class action, if you're a former college athlete, again, double check, but I think it's 2016 or 2017 to current date, you have a say in how this, you essentially have a vote on what you think should be okay and not okay. And so what they're saying is this question is just not clear enough about how this settlement affects the student athlete. Again, really good. Really good. But so, guys, here's the deal, right? And what we thought was pretty much settled was the roster size limits and the scholarships increase, which that seems like it will be, right? But new wrench, another wrench in the plan, another surprise, December surprise in college baseball and college sports is that now that settlement on roster size limits is being challenged. So who knows what will happen, but now all of a sudden there may be a chance that rosters are increased and not, or at least made to stay the same instead of decreased starting next December 1st. Let me know what you think, guys. Again, most of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. If you like daily college baseball, baseball development, recruiting tips, stuff like that, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on this video. It really helps us out in the algorithm. Again, appreciate all the support you guys have put on the channel recently. We're really starting to blow up. Really appreciate you guys. Let me know what you think about this. What do you think? Well, if I know, hey, Eugene, let me know what you think out there. For my lawyers in the chat, let me know what you think. We may even do a special stream later tonight to go over some of this. All right. So stay tuned, guys. Appreciate all the support.